Hello everyone, this is Robert Craven. I'm the founder of ScalePassion with this week's challenge. I'm here to challenge you this week to throw out the budget, at least for a little while. Let me tell you first by telling you a little story. I meet lots and lots of entrepreneurs. I meet lots and lots of businesses, even big businesses, that talk about budget time, and that's kind of code for we're gonna make decisions for next year. We're gonna make decisions for the next couple of years, and we're gonna start with our budget to do it. I'm here to tell you that starting with your budget is absolutely the worst thing you can do. Looking backwards and looking at your own internal financial results as a way to kind of set the course for going forward really leaves a lot of cards on the table. It's absolutely not the best way to move forward, especially if you're a high-growth, change-the-world entrepreneur. You really need to do things in a more methodical way, starting with the outside, looking in, and the budget should be the absolute last thing you do. In fact, I call it the drip pan. I'm not here saying you don't need to do a budget, but what I am saying is that the budget should be the absolute last thing that gets done, because the budget really conceptualizes and makes sure that you can afford what it is you want to do going forward. So let's take a look at a slide here. This slide is titled Why Budgets Are the Last Thing You Should Be Thinking About, and it's quite literally true. Budget should be the absolute last thing, and let me explain why. A good strategic process, and I talk a lot about strategic planning for high-growth entrepreneurs on ScalePassion.com, but a good strategic process has 5 key steps. And this outline that I'm showing here is a good way to think about it. There's inputs and then there's outputs. So let's talk about the inputs, which is really represented by the first 2 ScalePassion truisms. Number 1 is know thy market, and that in the inputs box here is represented by the market assessment. Know thy market is all about knowing what your customer wants, what your competition is doing, and the major macro trends that are affecting your business. I've talked about this extensively, lots and lots of information on that. But if there's a marketplace shift, if a competitor is really growing fast, that's going to dictate your strategy. If there's a new player, if there's something, lots and lots of technological change going on right now, if there's a new technology that is taking your customers' attention away, that absolutely has to be factored in. Know thy market is critical. It's number 1 on the list of ScalePassion truisms. So first and foremost, know your market. Secondly, it's know thyself. So that's represented by this bubble here, internal assessment. So internally, what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats? Very trite strategic term doing a SWOT analysis, but it works. What are we good at? What are we not so great at? How can we partner with people that are better than us at certain things? And the other big key in internal assessment is to know where you want to go personally. Get your key stakeholders around a table. If you've got a partner, if there's a board, if there's major shareholders, make sure that everybody around the table knows where everybody else wants to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I've talked extensively about how if there's a disconnect in the internal assessment, if there's a disconnect on know thyself, it will totally trickle down to the rest of the organization, and you'll have nothing but conflict as you try to scale your passion. Third bubble here is the value proposition, and it's represented by know thy purpose. And know thy purpose is really the bridge. And to get back to some of those strategic terms that we talk about a lot, mission, vision, these are very important. Mission is simply what we do and why we do it. Vision is where we want to go, or that guiding light, motivator and driver for our organization. I can tell you that when I do know thy purpose with my clients, we talk about a 3-year roadmap. Now, the 3-year roadmap is where you want to be in 3 years, and it is truly driven by the inputs: the market, your customer assessment, your market assessment, and your internal assessment. These 3 input areas really serve to dictate where you can realistically be in 3 years. So to give you a sense of it, when I was the CEO of a high-growth company in the natural products industry, I took over at about $16 million in sales. We sat down and did this assessment, and we determined, based on our data, and we had hard data about the customer in the marketplace, our competition, etc. We literally believed, based on the data, that we could be at $60 million in 3 years, from 16 to 60, and that's what we laid out as our goal, our 3-year goal. And I could tell you we got to 58.5. We would have never gotten there without that 3-year goal and that 3-year vivid description of the roadmap. And I call it the roadmap because the next thing you want to do is take your 3-year goal and break it down into 6-month chunks. So 6-month chunks. And by doing that, you're able to take major projects like an ERP initiative, some major technology, moving into a major channel, moving into Canada or going international, and you lay those out in those phases. So you take these big projects and you start to lay them out. And as you lay them out, you can say, wow, we can't do those 3 projects in the next 6 months. Let's take one of those and move it out 6 months. Or let's take another one and move it out a year. And so now you're sitting around the table with all the key internal stakeholders and you're all getting on the same page. on what it's going to take to get through our 3-year vivid description. It's a fantastic exercise, and that's really know thy purpose, mission, vision, value proposition, and then also the 3-year roadmap. And that roadmap really is critical when it comes to budgeting. If you simply going on history and you're extending what you're doing, I can guarantee you're not thinking about major projects, and you may be rushing things. And if you lay those projects into the budget, you want to be able to lay them in the right time as you build your pro forma, okay? And you want those projects to be third in line based on what the market's doing and based on your internal assessment. You don't want it just to be driven strictly by the budget, okay? So now that you know your purpose, you got the 3-year roadmap, now you can move into execution. So what we do is we recommend, now that we know our 3-year roadmap, we've broken it down to 6-month chunks, we take that next 6 months and we say, okay, what are our specific objectives for the next 6 months? And those objectives are, what do we want to accomplish? No more than 3. 3 major whats, 2 to 3. Sometimes 2 is even better, especially if you're going through some major change as a company. But the whats are typically like a revenue objective, a profit objective. We want to accomplish this much revenue. And I like to also say, a broad how we're going to do that. We're going to go get new customers, or we're going to focus on our core customers, or we're going to move into California, or we're going to move into a new market. And that gives you kind of the framework for the what, which is represented here on this as an objective, okay, an output. So then the what, for each of the what, no more than 3, you're going to do hows. So if a what is related to revenue, now you're going to list 3 to 6 things that say, how are we going to get that revenue? And that might be new product launches. It might be a new service you're offering. It might be anything that starts to fill out how we're going to go there. And it's very simple. If this is what we want to accomplish, then you ask your team, how are we going to do it? And you brainstorm it, you bucket those things, and those become your strategies. So strategies are simply the how to the what, and then your tactics are where you start to break that down. So if you've got a director that's in charge of an IT project, for example, you're going to want to ask that director, okay, we're going to do this in 6 months. Tell us the tactics you're going to go employ and the money you're going to spend, obviously, to get that done. And that's where those tactics kind of fall out from the outputs. Now you can see where execute thy purpose starts to really dictate exactly what we're going to go do as a company in the next 6 months. And then last is establish a rhythm. And I won't talk too much about that today, only because I've talked about it in other things. But to be able to really promote high growth, you've got to establish a rhythm with meetings, weekly meetings, monthly meetings, town hall meetings, and I've written extensively about that, not as related to the budget. So I'm just going to fly by that right now. I think you could see, as you outline your market, really know what your customer's doing, get a sense of your internal objectives and where you want to be, that can filter through to your mission, vision, and especially that 3-year roadmap. The 3-year roadmap breaks down to a 6-month set of outputs, objectives, strategies, tactics, and the 6-month set of outputs, the first phase and the second phase, 6 to 12 months, then dictate your budget. The other thing it can dictate is org planning. So who do we need to hire? I know, and I'll talk about this later on another blog, but I know a lot of companies that hire people just on gut and feel, and they just feel like they need somebody. But if you follow this process, the last 2 things you want to be thinking about is our org plan and our budget. And that's why budgets are the last thing you should be thinking about. Again, I'm Robert Craven. I hope you find ScalePassion helpful. We're here to help anytime. Write us, sign up for our newsletter. We've got a great set of tips and a white paper that you get by signing up with the newsletter. But we're here to help. Contact us anytime. Hopefully you found this week's challenge to be very helpful. And I challenge you, set aside the budget and go do the process, all right? All the best. Have a great week.